Alright, let's dive into this because it's a big deal for basketball fans, especially if you're keeping an eye on international hoops. So, here's the scoop. Nikola Jokic, the Denver Nuggets superstar, is suiting up for Serbia's FIBA World Cup Qualifiers. But here's the twist. While Jokic is in, some key players are out, and that's where things get really interesting. Personally, I think this roster announcement is a perfect example of how international basketball always keeps us on our toes. It's not just about who's playing, it's about who's not playing and what that means for the team's dynamics. First off, let's talk about Jokic. The guy's a two-time NBA MVP, and seeing him commit to Serbia's national team is huge. What makes this really interesting is that he's doing this in the middle of his NBA offseason. If you take a step back and think about it, this level of dedication to his home country is rare, especially for a player of his caliber. It's not just about skill, it's about heart. And that's something Serbia's fans have to be thrilled about. But here's the thing. Jokic can't carry the team alone, and that's where the absences start to sting. Bogdan Bogdanovic, Filip Petrusev, and Nikola Topic are all missing from the roster. Bogdanovic, in particular, is a massive loss. He's a veteran shooter and a leader on the court. What many people don't realize is that his absence could force Serbia to rethink their offensive strategy entirely. Without him, they lose a go-to scorer in clutch moments. And Petrusev? He's a young, talented big man who's been making waves in Europe. His absence means less depth in the frontcourt, which could put even more pressure on Jokic to dominate inside. From my perspective, this roster feels like a mix of proven stars and unproven talent, and that's both exciting and risky. Now, let's talk about the games themselves. Serbia's facing Iceland and Italy in this qualifying window. On paper, Iceland might seem like an easy win, but international basketball is unpredictable. Remember, these are qualifiers. Every game matters. And Italy? That's a whole different beast. They've got a solid squad, and playing them away from home is no small challenge. What this really suggests is that Serbia's going to need every bit of Jokic's brilliance to secure those wins. But here's the deeper question. Can the rest of the roster step up? Guys like Nikola Milutinov and Marko Guduric are going to have to play out of their minds if Serbia wants to avoid any upsets. One thing that immediately stands out is the youth on this roster. Players like Mihailo Petrovic and Nikola Kusturica are getting a chance to shine on the international stage. In my opinion, this could be a turning point for Serbian basketball. If these young guys can rise to the occasion, it sets the team up for long-term success. But it's also a gamble. International games are high pressure, and experience matters. So, while I'm excited to see what the newcomers can do, I'm also a bit skeptical about how they'll handle the heat. If you ask me, this roster is a fascinating study in balance, or lack thereof. You've got one of the best players in the world in Jokic, but the supporting cast is a mix of unproven talent and veterans who aren't there. It's like Serbia's rolling the dice, and that's what makes this so compelling. Will it pay off? Personally, I think it could go either way. But that's the beauty of it. We're in for some unpredictable basketball. And honestly, isn't that why we love this game? So, here's my closing thought. This Serbia roster is a reminder that international basketball is as much about strategy and depth as it is about star power. Jokic's presence is massive, but the absences of key players like Bogdanovic could be the real story here. It's a team in transition, and how they perform in these qualifiers could tell us a lot about Serbia's future on the global stage. What do you think? Are they still a contender, or is this a rebuilding year in disguise? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to hear your take.